It's time for us to head to Wimmera Football, and the full report from our guest from the Warwick Herald is Scotty Stewart, and he is that excited about 100 years of the Anzac Heritage Memorial Oval gates at that beautiful Anzac Park, and he's joining us now. He's not at the gates, but he is been down there and had a look. How are you, Scotty?
Yeah, I'm going all right, thanks, Wayne. No worries.
Big weekend for the local folk. 100 years of commemoration of those gates being put and the Memorial Oval and the games of football that were played back 100 years ago on your oval. It's a really important thing to recognise that, not just because of the tradition of the Anzacs and what we are celebrating or commemorating really on next Tuesday, but this is great for your town too.
Yeah, it's a bit of history going to be happening over the weekend there, Wayne. It's with the Anzac Park turning 100 years of age. I think it's about in middle of May 1923, and they renamed an old Wimmera Park. I think they called it to the Anzac Memorial Park, which stands there now, as you say, with the gates there at the front of the precinct there, and yeah, it'll be a celebration this weekend with in the football side of it. I should be talking here with when Warwick way back in 1923 hosted Dimboola it was in the first ever game at Anzac Park, and that's what's happening obviously this weekend when the Eagles host Dimboola. So yeah, it'll be a big weekend and a big part of history in Warrnambool.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a moment. Let's go, though, firstly to round one action. And talking of Dimmy, they beat nil. It was a fight from the Westerners, 9-6-60 they kicked, but it was Dimboola 10-12-72 to get the points.
Yeah, coming from 30 points down at three-quarter time. In this game, they've booted 8 goals in the last quarter to 8-1 and turned that 30-point deficit into a 12-point win. So yeah, not fully sure what happened with the first 3 quarters with Dimboola. Obviously, the Nil boys come out firing and handled the conditions a lot better and settled into the new season well. But yeah, unfortunately for the Nil lads, they stopped a little bit. Stopped in that last quarter, should say, and Jimmy got their tails up and went away with it.
Yeah, amazing scoreline that was. And Horsham Saints, 12-7-79, beat your blokes, the Warwick Eagles, 8-4-52 over at Coghlan. How did you see this, I mean, in pretty tough conditions?
Yeah, it was a bit heavy and slippery with the rain that happened, but Coghlan Park was like the MCG. It was a magnificent surface, and he'd already had like 3 games of footy leading up to the senior game, obviously, and you wouldn't have thought there was a patch on it. So all credit to the Saints over there and the Coghlan Park. It was a picture, but yeah, good game. A pretty even battle in that first half. You didn't see by the scores, only 1 point separating. But the second half, yeah, the Eagles lads sort of fell away a bit and just started making some skill errors basically, and the Saints made them pay. And with the scores, yeah, the 4-2 in the third, and then another 3-1 in the last. So yeah, they just reduced the Eagles' ability to score, and they didn't help themselves a lot with some of their play. But yeah, that's something that Coach Danny Bell I was talking to him during the weekend. He was working on during the week and in preparation for this weekend.
He certainly got some work. Joey McKinnon with 4 was very good, and Matthew Johns led the way. The Watts boys were okay, and good play from Jake O'Donnell with a couple of goals, and Will Brennan really good with his 3 goals, and Martin also with 3, with the better 2 players for those from over at the St. Land. And Dominion Matoa 10-8-68 beat Horsham D's 5-7-37. All pre-season we've heard that the D's might just well be up there again this year and even push even harder and higher. Minyip Matoa didn't look like they even missed a big Delahunty, so a great performance from them at Minyip.
Yeah, it was in the end, but again, a bit like the Dimboola Nil game, it took 8 goals and eight goals in that last quarter to get the Burrows over the line. So would have been a pretty heavy conditions, I'm thinking, with showery rain throughout the day, in the morning and day over there at Minyip. But yeah, you can see by the scoreline there that Horsham was right in the game there at three-quarter time. But we did a bit of a report during the week with Tyler Blake, and he said these young chargers sort of ran out of legs a little bit towards the end, and the Burrows showed their experience to storm home with those 8 goals. Were pretty good signs from the Horsham lads in that first game against the reigning premiers anyway.
Yeah, the reigning premiers had Corey Morgan booting 3 and Jai Walter booting 2. They both got action in that last quarter. John Delahunty, though, kept that Delahunty name in the best, as did Jordan, and Will Cameron was the best player on the ground. Benjamin Janetsky, he's a star player for the Horsham D's. And then finally, it was the Southern Mallee Giants, 16-11, 107 over the Stall Warriors, 3-3-21. And as we've just heard earlier, I've got to tell you, it was a magnificent performance. 9 unanswered goals in the second half by these Southern Mallee Giants.
Yeah, I'm thinking Sammy would have been pretty happy with that last weekend with the Giants, the way they handled that. And I imagine down there it would have been at Central Park, pretty slippery and a bit windy conditions. And this, the scores sort of show with the quarter-by-quarter scores there. But, the Giants have obviously started the season pretty well, and that was a good first-up win down there at an away game at Central Park. So, sitting on top of the ladder there now at the minute, and they'll sit out a bye this weekend, but they'll be ready to go in the following week.
Yeah, Angus McSwain, very good for them, 5 goals to get going. Okay, they'll be getting going in big numbers as Dimmy come to town. I wonder if 100 years ago they would have had too many cars or bus or some sort of a train to get up to Warwick Nabil. I tell you, the road that they've got there between the two places is probably just as impassable as what it was 100 years ago.
Yeah, it could be. That's right. Yeah, exactly. But I think during I'm not huge on the history of all of it, but I'm pretty sure that year that Jimmy might have entered the Wimmera League, I think, in that first game against Warwick Nabil, when we're talking 300 years ago, and they had a bit of a battle against the Warwick Nabil boys that day, but the modern day Roos, they look like they're going to be up there again with, they've recruited a couple as well, and they've maintained a couple of their recruits from last year, and showing, looking at that last quarter that they produced last week, if they can all get together and, join up with the locals in Jackson O'Neill and the likes with over there at Jimmy, they will be hard to toss. With the Warwick Eagles boys, they'll be looking to bounce back, but they did suffer a couple of losses last week, and one key one was Ryan McKenzie, who's hurt a calf and calf muscle, and he's going to miss this weekend's game. And a couple of other boys are in doubt at the minute with other commitments. But it'll be a good game. It's going to be played in perfect conditions, and first game for Anzac Park for the year, and I can see from training during the week that it's going to come up an absolute picture. So it'll be a good day at Anzac Park tomorrow, and everyone that gets down there will enjoy the celebrations for a start, and the ceremonies they'll have, and then this game between the Eagles and the Roos. It's
going to be great to see. You've got the very, very good young power boys going around now. The 3 Watts lads have been named and looking out to see Inks to play some good football. I reckon Scotty Stewart's going to need to have a really good game too, and they're going to have to be at their very best, I think, to beat Dimboola in this match. I think Hayes in good form. John Ross is going to be one to watch. Asia Rakiwasa is a very good player, and it's going to be good to see Polycarpu too get going for his side. We'll watch with interest the scores come through and hear the ceremony and what is 100 years at Anzac Park of the game commemorating 100 years of Warwick Eagles playing the Dimboola side. What about this game? We've got the Stall Warriors taking on Matoa. I think that the Boroughs might go down there 2 matches in a row at home here for the Stall Warriors, but it's going to be a tough ask against the league leaders.
Yeah, it will be a tough ask, and that's a bit of a tough draw, isn't it, for the Stall boys to front up for the first couple of weeks at the Giants and then the reigning premiers, and they might have a bit of a battle, but I think with Stall are doing some renovations to the ground later in the year, so I think they're going to be playing a few of their first half of the year at home and then on the road for the second half. But this one will be a tough battle, and we didn't mention last week, but the Boroughs have. We're talking about a couple of their recruits, and I see his name for this weekend is a former local, I suppose you put him. He's been away for a fair while. Lockie Delahunty joined the Boroughs from from WA, where he's been playing a bit of footy and was recognised pretty well over there. So he's going to be a fairly handy sort of recruit for the Boroughs to join that team. So it'll be pretty hard work for the Store lads, I would imagine. And those young kids you mentioned there before, Corey Morgan and Jai Walter, who's joined the Boroughs this year, Nick Harris, those kids, they're going to be pretty hard to stop, and the Store boys will find that pretty hard this weekend.
Neil, boys, they will be welcoming the Ararat Rats. The Rats will travel 169 kilometres, and they'll meet a Nil side that'll be fired up. Ararat look good in the Easter match, should beat Nil, but don't take them lightly at Davis Park, and they might have car legs after that drive.
Yeah, exactly. Car legs and coming off a bye with only the Good Friday game under their belt. It goes one way or the other, doesn't it? You either come out and you're as keen as well, you're as keen as mustard. There's no doubt about it. But it's just amazing sometimes how it works, where you just might be a little bit off your game. But after you're sitting out having a bye, and as you said there, they're going to make the longest trip they're going to make all year. The plus part about all that is they're going to do it early in the season. It's going to be a nice day. It's going to be perfect for footy, so they'll be keen and they'll be up and about, and Matty Wild will have those boys up and about pretty well. But Neil, after last week, it's a really good start for them. Despite falling away in that last quarter, they obviously the first three quarters were up and about. But you would favour Ararat, but should be a good game. And
the D's take on the Saints on Sunday at Horsham City Oval in the Anzac medal match. Yeah, that would be another big clash, the annual Anzac Day game between the Saints and the Demons. And, picking a winner out of this one, it's going to be a fairly handy game, this one, with in the evenness of the game. You could say that either side, obviously they've got their chances to put the win on the board. Obviously, the Demons missed last week. They'll be keen to put their first win on the board, but the Saints, after getting the opening round win, and they go 2 from 2 for a start. That's so important. So it's going to be a huge battle, this one. So, picking a winner you might just have to stick with the side that is a winning form, and that might be the Saints. But no, this will be a great game to celebrate Anzac Day. Oh yes, it is a beauty, and as one former AFL umpire who is a Christian church minister, I asked him what was your first game that you umpired, and he said it was between the Saints and the D's. So this is a little bit like that on this Anzac weekend. Scotty Stewart, good to have you on board, and we'll catch you next week.
No worries, Wayne.